All right.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you, Bruce. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you well. I
There
see
you
your,
go.
I like your background.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from. It just popped up, so I guess I'm in San Francisco tonight.
You are.
I saw Izzy on. You there, Izzy?
I'm here.
There you go. Just waiting for Gary, I guess.
Who would ever thought we would have to Zoom things?
Yeah, tell me
Amazing
about
time we're in.
Amazing.
it. Just crazy.
Just close that. I think this is too bright. There.
Oh, there you are.
There we go. Let me get a light. I'm sitting in the dark. Okay.
How's everything?
Oh, it's going.
Good.
Everybody staying healthy?
So far, so good.
So far. I didn't think I had this Zoom thing because I use my computer. My wife has my iPad, so I only see this for Zoom meetings. I didn't realize I had to scroll all the way back to Friday, but I got it.
Now, have you been in contact with the three people for tonight, Izzy? Are they definitely joining us, or?
I hope so. That's all I can hope. So that's why I sent out an email a little while ago, and I told them to log in at 6 in case somebody else doesn't show up. Because I didn't get a confirmation. Oh, Deleuze, DLP did confirmation. But other than that, I haven't gotten any. And I think Miracle Farms is showing. Oh, here we go. Got Gary. Hi, Gary. Oh, let me unmute him. We can hear you.
How you doing, Gary?
I see you decided to go to San Francisco, Gerard.
Yeah, I don't know where that showed up from, so I guess I'm traveling the country, I guess. I just signed up. That's what
You're the only one.
was behind me.
And Bruce is on Buckboard.
Who else we got?
How are you?
Good. How about you?
Better than most.
That's good.
We can start the meeting, I guess.
That's fine.
Okay.
You want to call us to order, Gary?
Yeah, I rather thought the first appointment was for 6:15, so I'm sorry. We just need to get some bookkeeping out of the way. So I'll call the meeting to order. It's 6:01. And did you all get a chance to look at the lengthy minutes for the March 21st meeting?
Yes, I
Yes.
did. Seems so long ago.
So
Yeah.
do I have a motion to accept those minutes?
I'll make that motion to accept the minutes of March 21st.
I'll second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And Izzy, first of
Well,
all,
our first appellant is going to be Joan F. Simpson. It's new to you. So I would assume that's Mr. Simpson?
No, this is Larry Marzielli. I'm representing the room.
Okay. So we didn't get Mrs. Simpson, didn't show up yet.
now, did we schedule her for 6 or 6:15?
I have her at 6. And that's why I said I didn't hear from her. So that's why I told Mr. Marzial and Mr. Maroon, I think I always say your name wrong, I'm sorry, to show up a little early in case she didn't log on.
And you're Maple Farms Nursery.
Miracle Farms.
Miracle Farms Nursery. My copy isn't very
Got it.
loud. Okay. So let's give Joan like maybe till 5 after. And if she's not here at 5 after, we'll jump right over to Miracle Farms.
Is Greg on the call? Greg Maroon?
Yes, he's here.
Okay.
Let me unmute him. Hold on. Okay, now we can talk. Sorry, Greg.
No, not a problem.
Hey, Greg.
Greg
Larry,
and Larry are both from Miracle Farms.
yep, yes. Hi.
We did have someone scheduled for just before you, so we want to give them at least till 5 after.
Not a problem, not a problem.
And we'll give them 2 or 3 minutes and then we'll get started. Just so you know, my name's Gary and I'm the chairman of the Board of Assessment Appeals.
How you doing, Gary?
Hi, I'm doing fine, thank you. Bruce Cornwell is the vice chair.
Right here.
You'll be hearing from him. And then Gerard Amond is the secretary. And before you speak, Gerard will have to be swearing you in. We're told that it's legal to do that over Zoom. So when we get to that point, that'll be Gerard who'll be doing that. And you know Izzy.
Yes.
Yes. Hey,
Yeah, due to
I'm
the
looking-
executive order of Governor Lamont, we now are able to do this over Zoom because of the COVID scare.
Yeah,
Should I be wearing a mask?
I hope not.
Yeah,
Okay. You might hope so.
you're not bad. You're not a bad looking guy. You're okay.
I got mine ready.
Somebody sent me a cartoon today, not a cartoon, a video of some guy and a woman who took their underwear and made masks out of them. It was crazy. They took the underwear, put them on their head, cut them over, tied them around. It was quite
That's the
remarkable.
times.
So,
Takes all kinds. All right, so it's 5 after. Why don't we get started with Greg and Larry?
sure.
Gerard, do you want to do the honors?
I
They don't have to stand.
misplaced my my official swearing in statement, but
I have it. Do you want me to read it?
I swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth. So help me God.
It says, do you solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
Yes, it's Larry Marzielli. I do.
I do. Gregory Maroon, I do.
thank you.
Thank you. So Izzy did provide us with a copy of your application or your petition. We have just the cover letter that you filled out where you have indicated that you're estimating the value of your property at $231,836. And attached to that is a summary of DEPN schedule.
You might not have the whole file because what I have is the cover sheet, a copy of the 2019 personal property declaration form completed, and I have the declaration affidavit, and I have a summary of the depreciation schedule as reported on the corporate tax return. And behind that, I have the supported and itemized fixed assets that were reported on the federal income tax return.
Okay, I think that Izzy didn't put that out there on the town site because that's private information to your business.
Right.
So Izzy, you have all that?
I do have the declaration itself. I listed the itemized items that he had on that spreadsheet, but I did not put this declaration because that isn't public information.
Right, but you have it there with
I
you
do have it.
if we need to refer to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you want to verbally make your argument here, we'll listen
Right.
attentively.
Sure, and we have a couple of things that, I'd like to discuss tonight. But first off, what, and I hate to call you Izzy, I just can't recall your last name. You've been
That's
so
it.
nice.
That's okay.
Her. So, what ultimately have you decided? Have you issued what you think the declared value of the property is for 2019?
Yeah, what I have is it's a total of 271,450 plus the penalty, which you can't remove the penalty, but the penalty is dependent on 25% of that depreciated value.
So
That
our
makes-
difference, our difference is approximately $40,000.
Correct.
All right. Do you mind? Can you tell me? I mean, not to the penny, but what are the couple of major differences that gets you to 270?
Well, what we had was an old prior one, and under code 16, the depreciated number we had was 154,350.
What does that mean? You had an old one.
Well, everything we put in prior years, so it didn't come on as a new schedule. It came in prior
All right.
years.
Okay.
17 we had, which is farm machinery, we had about 110,250 depreciated. Farm tooling, we had 1,100. Computer, we had 1,470. And then the supplies were 4,280, 4,280.
So a few things. I think one, if you're going from some older documents, it could be the case, and I'm happy to spend some time with you trying to reconcile it, because what I'm telling you does agree with his federal income tax return. Perhaps some of those older schedule items have been eliminated, that they no longer have. That's one. Secondly, the whole idea of farm machinery, tooling, and farm tooling, this is not a farm. This is a landscaping company, so it's very possible that maybe there was just a difference between the way I classified some things
Correct.
and some of the way the predecessor did.
Correct.
So, if you let me see, or I might better understand what you have included in farm machinery and farm tooling, we might be able to reconcile our difference. But I'm pretty confident that the numbers that I'm giving you are, as reported on the federal income tax return. And Greg and I did go through the list, at least certainly with some of the off-the-road construction equipment, some of the bigger items. And, we're in agreement about the items that he did have. I do note that there was, and this could easily be part of our difference, there was a skid steer that he bought in 2006 that has been junked quite a while ago.
Two of them have been junked.
Sorry?
Was it actually junked, or did you just write it off on the depreciation schedule?
What is the difference, Izzy?
Well, the ones
I
that's
mean,
in
they're
the
junked.
yard.
No, it's
in
junk.
the
It's
yard
no
and it's-
longer. Yeah, I'm not trying to put words in his mouth, Izzy. I had that same conversation with him. It's not there. It's not at the place. It's nowhere in town. It's thrown out. It's scrapped. It was garbage.
Okay. And then the other question was, I know we had, first of all, I don't see any of the equipment or what's in that building, Steck's building. So,
If you,
your furniture and furniture would be.
yeah, so not much. I mean,
counter, shelving.
not much. There's a couple of desks, maybe 3 or 4 desks, a copying machine, and just a couple of miscellaneous shelving things that actually the shelving, they probably doesn't even have any. They're kind of like built into the walls. And certainly there's a couple of older computers and computer screens, but the computers, and this is just me, having been there looking at them, not knowing the exact date. I don't see them on the depreciation schedule, but they have to be at least 5 years old. I mean, these were not brand new terminals.
Okay, because I think we had get over here.
Sorry.
That's my wife. I'm sorry.
This is not my dog's barking.
I
Sorry,
in
guys.
the background.
I thought it was my wife calling me.
And then the other question I know we had was, so of course we would have to have a number. What do you think our if it was built into leasehold improvement for,
Yeah,
say, a counter, what do you think the original cost?
the building is a couple of 100 years old. I mean, it's
I
real
know.
old. I mean, it's,
I
you know,
Just a
look
bar.
at, I mean, if you just wanted to say something, I don't think you're going to be too far off if you looked at the depreciated value of, you know, like $2,000 for all the furniture stuff that's in there. There's just not a whole lot. I mean,
Okay.
you know, I don't want to waste your
Everything that
time,
we
my
had
time,
was used and old
Yeah.
or built.
you know.
All right, computers, what do you think you have? What did you think?
I'm talking about the computers, everything, a couple of grand in that office. If you tried to, I know it's not the standard, if you tried to sell it or put it on the market, I doubt he would get $2,000 for all the stuff that's up there. It's
Right, but
just,
that's not what we're looking at. What we
I
have to
got-
look at is 5 years ago, computers cost more than they do today.
right, well, but, all right, so even if they did, I mean, what would the value of it be, 30%? So if it was a $1,000 computer, it would be $300.
Right, so
So
if
we've
you
got,
had
we've got 3 of them.
3 of them, so
So, you know,
3,000 new years ago.
5 years ago, yeah, depreciated down to what, $900? Or no, it would be, what's the minimum?
I don't have a minimum.
No, I mean, you know, if you, on the state guideline, doesn't it get down to 30%?
It comes down to 30%.
Yeah. So it'd be like it'd be like $900 worth of value. These are old things.
Yeah. And how about now, I noticed you had, when I look at the GIS, there's a lot of trucks.
All right. First off, let me just back off for a second. Whatever you might be looking at that was filed in previous years is probably a fairy tale.
It hasn't filed in a long time. Sorry about
Yeah.
that.
Well, and it hasn't filed in 5 years, 6 years, and I doubt that information that you have was accurate. It just might be a wild ass guess that was on though. And it's not just with you guys. You know, just to give you a little color, Greg has been the victim of a
Yeah.
defalcation. So, and we're finding out that there was a lot of returns, just like you, not filed, or if things were filed, they were filed haphazardly and not in agreement with the documented books and records. So I only say that if you're gonna, it's gonna be impossible for me to be able, with any sort of reasonable accuracy, to opine on what you received 5 or 6 years ago. I can just say to you, I have a depreciation schedule with assets going all the way back to 02, 04, and I just don't see anything that that appears to be anything like office furniture. Just doesn't. So where those numbers may have come from, I couldn't tell you.
All right. Now, how about the trucks? How many trucks do you think he has there that are unregistered, and what are they?
We went through
Everything's
that.
registered.
Yeah, there's a few items though that were significant called equipment. Those were like skid steers. We have them all listed.
But
If you look at,
we have all the trucks are registered. I think even the
right,
trucks that aren't are in.
but Greg, there's some things like Kubota loaders, some of the skid steers.
Oh, yeah, no,
tractors, that sort of stuff, the blow packs, those kind of things.
We got the mowers, the excavator.
Right,
the
and they're all
loader,
on,
the
they're all on
cat
the, they're all on the depreciation schedule. We did like the X-Mark, Izzy.
Yeah,
Those are lawnmowers,
right.
and there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 8 of them actually. And Greg and I did do that count with the lawnmowers. There are eight of those X-Mark lawnmowers.
And the blowers, those are correct, and the mower,
Yeah.
the engines, that's correct.
Right, and the
Correct.
big skid steers. I mean, best we could, we went through this and identified all these as all these assets still being there, but for one of the skid steers that was gone.
Okay. There seems to be, and that's why, and you help me, tell me if I'm right or wrong. When I look at the GIS for 2016, that's the last time the GIS.
What's a GIS?
It's a geographical system that we have, so we can check all of our, look at aerial views.
Yeah.
So we have, when I count roughly, I found about 35 vehicles on your property.
Right.
but I have about 8 registered.
Well, I don't know where you say you.
8 registered, we got more than 8.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's there might be 8 or 9. I don't know. I'd have to go through with this with Greg. I don't know if some of them are double counted, but I don't think there's 35 vehicles there. I've been on that site. I've been on that site in February where nothing is on the road. I don't know where the 35 vehicles come from.
So none are unregistered.
No, there are.
I
I mean, no.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
So
9.
that would be the Kubota tractors. Those are the
Yes.
ones that you're saying
Yes.
is non-registered.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, exactly.
Okay.
And
All right.
John has a
How
list
about-
of all the equipment, of all the trucks. I can send John in the morning, or I can email you a list in the morning, because every vehicle that we drive, and even the vehicles, like some of the vehicles that are old, they're still registered, because I had an issue with John why we were paying tax on them, and he said, until you sell them, you got to pay tax on them.
Right.
So those are all things that we've actually kept the registration of.
But those you're paying bills with on a
No, that's what I'm saying. Those we're
Yeah.
paying,
Yeah.
you know, because they don't register. They won't allow us to
Got
read
it.
the registration. So
right.
I'm saying to you,
Right.
every truck, and I'll go tomorrow morning and check to see, but I know because I got in a big argument with John why we were paying taxes on them if we weren't using them. And then he said, if they're not sold, you have to pay road tax and everything
Correct.
on them. So I'm saying to you, there are no trucks. There might be, which I will check for you. There, a mechanic, DJ Brown, that works for me. He might have had 1 or 2 of his cars there that he's been working on, or he works on once in a while. But those aren't mine.
Okay.
I'm saying those.
Oh,
those
great.
vehicles-
Now you turn DJ and they're gonna go. You're gonna go sick
Yeah.
her on DJ.
Happier, she can come and get DJ.
All right, so how about if you had to now, farm tooling, since farm tooling we put in,
Again, there is no
That would
farm
be-
tooling.
that
I don't know
would
what do you mean by farm tooling?
all right, farm tooling, your wheelbarrows. You might have rakes, you got hose, you got.
Yes,
You think
all
with weed whackers, I
Okay.
don't know if they're in this
Yeah,
part,
landscaping tools.
all
Okay.
of those.
Yeah, not like milking machines or anything
No.
like that. Right.
No,
Okay.
we have one form that we,
All right, I got it.
for
I got
everybody.
it.
Oh,
So
I
it's
know, but
not hard.
we're also, Izzy, we've gone from in 2006, 7, having 100+ people to, I think I did the payroll today, we got 20 people.
Yeah.
I'm saying to you, so the
And-
company that
yeah.
we had, because, I mean, landscape crews, I used to run 15 landscape crews. Right now, I'm running 2 landscape crews, and I'm running 3. So it's like even rakes and shovels and stuff, I'm telling you, from what we used to have and what we have now is,
Right, so what do
is
you have
minimal.
now? And what's a good number?
I don't know. I'm saying to you, I can go and do an inventory. Part of what Larry was saying is, you know, and I'm limited as to what I can say, but Larry's in here because I've had to get, Larry is a forensic accountant, to sort out something that has happened to me over the last 8 or 10 years. Whoever I had in the office, I'm not going to mention names, but she literally ran the entire office. I sold landscaping, designed landscaping, and she did everything. Paychecks, tax returns, the entire thing. So this, just so you guys know, the fact that this is where it is a mystery to me because I gave her complete control of it. So
Yeah.
Larry's in there and we're trying to sort it out. And I'd like to get to a point 0. I mean, this is something that's absolutely shocking to me. And trust me, on the scope of what we're looking at, it's the tip of the iceberg of what we found. And because we're limited as to what we can say legally right now, we're there. But I will email you tomorrow a list of every truck that's drivable, that's driving, and any truck that's not registered, I'll let you know. But the only reason that I know every truck is registered, because I gave John, who is one of my managers, I screamed at him because when he was paying the registration and say, John, but we don't use MBA. We don't use this. They're sitting in the back. He says, you have to pay for them because they're registered. We can't even take them off the insurance if they're on there. So I'm saying to you is every truck that's there, we have registered and we paid for. I will give you a list by the end of the day tomorrow of every single truck that's there so you can do a reconciliation. But I'm saying to you is I'm finding out things that are like, you know, I thought were just taken care of. Larry's in here trying to help us get to a point zero because, you know, I've been doing this for 35 years. I trusted the person that I had there for 25 years to find out on September 6th, you know,
Yeah.
2019, that there's a major fraud going on in my business. So I'm saying to you, we're trying to sort it out. We're on your side. I'm not trying to get out of paying anything. I'm just trying to say to you guys, hey, this is new territory for us because we thought it was all being done. So we need to get to a point zero. Izzy, you want that list of trucks? I got a list of trucks here. I'm just going to go through tomorrow, verify it for you, and I will email it to you.
There's a couple of things though. There's a couple of things, Greg, that
Right, we're gonna need a couple of.
Izzy, your question is miscellaneous tools and that sort of stuff, I think. So one, this is not just a landscaping company. Most of the business done here is design build, custom decks, custom furnitures, that sort of stuff. Where that's why the heavy equipment is there. Materials are delivered to the site. Subcontractors are hired for most of the stuff. So yes, it is a rather large facility, but it's not just mowing and landscaping. That's actually not the biggest part of the business. So again, me being there and seeing it, he has a couple of trucks, box trucks, those sorts of things that have some of the rakes, the hoses, the wheelbarrows, the kind of things you're talking about. I can't imagine that even if you went, you know, if you went through this whole thing, it's going to be worth more than a couple of $1,000s at cost. It's just not.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's just, you know, that's probably being generous. So
I mean, 10 years ago, it might have been because we had a lot of guys. We need a lot of tools.
Yeah.
Now it's not.
and then frankly, half the rakes and everything, they go missing.
Well, and that's it, but either if you're gonna have a rake and you're gonna expense it off, which is okay, but then you're gonna have a higher supply list.
Right.
So
So
if I'm gonna buy a rake at $20, but I'm gonna lose it in a year, well, then my expenses are gonna be higher because we have to account for that.
I got it. I mean, I understand all that, but what I'm trying to say is, you know, you're never going to get to a right number. I don't know how. I'm happy to try to throw out a number, and I'm not trying to lowball you. I mean, as Greg said, and just a background about me, 45 years as a CPA with a regional firm, represented a lot of municipalities, actually worked for assessors, going out and doing field audits. So we're not here to try to hide anything. We're just here just in the spirit of being treated fairly. That's all. So, and making sure the town is.
What you have to do is work on those final numbers because we're missing
All right.
code number 16. You're going to put.
Hold on. So
That's
code number 16, just so I know what you're referring to.
You're gonna add
Furniture
something.
fixtures. Okay.
You're gonna add
So if
something
we,
for furniture.
all right. What else?
Code number 18, we'll put it there. That would either be your farm tools, wheelbarrows, those type of things.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, whatever you guys, cement things, I'm not, you know.
Yeah. What else?
So that should have a number in it.
Yeah.
Code number 20, the computers. You said they're old and they're 5 years, but they gotta be on.
Okay. Okay.
And then if your supplies are higher and not 1,000, because some of those things you expense off, then your supplies are gonna be a little higher.
No, that supply number, so you know, is 1/12 of what was taken over off the tax return. It was a little better than $12,000.
Okay,
Okay.
Okay.
It was either a little less or a little more than 12,000, but it was
Right.
right around 12,000. So that's where that number came
all
from.
right. So now you gotta talk to Gary, Bruce, and Gerard. They have to accept that we'll take this.
Well, what about this, you know, but we're still off by $50,000. I mean, so are these three items making up the $50,000 difference?
Like, I don't know. I don't know.
Because,
See, I don't know what you know what you guys got there. I don't.
well, let me ask you
Without doing
something.
an audit.
Did you accept the $230,000 I reported on line 16?
I didn't do anything yet.
All right. So,
'Cause that's up to the board members to decide
All
if
right.
they're going to, because I already set my numbers. My number was 342, whatever. I don't know what
all
the.
right, well,
So you have to
340
get, the board has to
well,
agree.
hold on. 342.
Yeah, with the penalty.
All right, with the penalty then. How about just the raw number? What was the raw number without the penalty?
271, 450.
271, okay. 271, 450. So what I said, it's about a $40,000 difference is what you have,
Right,
pre-penalty, right?
free penalty.
All right. So, I don't, if you adjusted my 230 number, I'd like to be able to see what you did to adjust it, because that is actually everything that's there on the depreciation schedule. So, and I don't know if we have access to that, if you have to file freedom of information or what you need to do to get it, but
What are you looking for?
on line, I had 235.56 on line 16. I'm asking you on when you did your internal numbers, did you agree with that number or not?
I haven't done anything because it's up to the board to agree to it.
All right, but hold on, but somehow you came up with I'm not trying to be argumentative, I'm trying to understand. You came up with a number of 271,450.
Right.
Is that number starting with the 230, and do you add those three items you talked about?
Now
the
that
farmer's
added
food?
code number 16, 17, 18, 20, and 23.
So- Hold on. Those are two new ones. All right, 23. All right, okay.
23
And I
is
had
your
23. I had
20 is your
1,000 for
computer.
23.
18 is the only thing, we have a lower for code number 16, but we have something in 17 where it just allocated it differently for your equipment. So I have, that would be, let me tell you. Sorry, I just dropped my
It's unlocked.
calculators here.
I'll leave it unlocked.
Let me get it.
I'll leave it unlocked.
150 plus 110, 250. So what we have is we're really not far off. You had how much? 260?
230.
231, 836.
And I have.
Well, that includes
$264,600.
$1,000 of supplies. 238.36.
So what I have for code number 16 depreciated is 264,460.
All right,
You were
that's
at, you would be-
236. 230. So what's the difference?
34.
No, I know, but I know the dollar amount, the difference. But how'd you come up with the 264 number?
because it has 16 and 17. So ours is furniture, fixtures, and equipment, and also farm machinery.
So
There just happen to be
collectively.
in two codes.
So, well, here's the way I look at it. I don't know if we're, maybe we're talking about the same thing. Going with the number of $230,000. Code 16, 18, and 20, because I already have 23. The total value of all that stuff cannot be more than $10,000, and it's old stuff. It just cannot be. So if that's the case, I think we should be at 230. 10,000 for that. The depreciated value would be down to $3,000. It's somewhere around 233,000, not 271.
Right. But that, you need to talk to the board and see if they'll accept it. But you didn't give us all the numbers yet, so we just have to have all of the numbers filled out.
All right, so we'll fill out the numbers. I mean, so we don't have to go through a huge exercise. What I'm telling you, does that sound reasonable to do with the furniture, the tools, and the computers?
Yeah, you have to do furniture. I don't know what you have for furniture there.
I-
That's all your shelving, that's all your built-in counters.
Yeah,
What the original cost was, not what you think they are today.
I don't have it. We don't have it. There's no way we have that stuff. Nobody in the world has that stuff right now.
I even showed like the pictures. The shelving is not that old, I don't think, is it?
There's not,
The shelving is wood
we're
plank.
harping on one thing, Greg, the shelving.
The shelving is wood plank.
Built into
I'll
a
send
wall
you a
1,000
picture of
years
the
ago.
shelving. I mean,
Yeah.
we never bought anything. We took old
Right.
lumber and built a shelf.
I mean, the only thing I could possibly do is go to the building department and see what kind of permits were pulled. I didn't,
I'll
Good
take
luck.
a picture and show you, and then you can take a look at it and see what you think the value is.
Yeah. There's
I'll take
nothing
a
there.
picture and show you. I'm saying that. I'm telling you.
There's nothing there, right? So, but So,
So you
I'm
have
okay.
offices, so you probably have upstairs some desks, some chairs.
yeah, that's what we're saying.
All- all-
Three
yeah,
desks.
file cabinets.
Stuff.
There, hold on, there's
These
four.
home
There-
improvements.
There's actually 5 desks, steel cased, hundreds of years old, crappy chairs. There's some plywood that is the shelving, and there's there's a copying machine. So that's it. And there's what I said. There's a few computers. When I'm there, I could barely find a stapler. So
All right, so you have some work to do.
all right, so what?
We have to get it tomorrow.
All right, so I'll do that. I'll do that tomorrow. But I'm just saying to you right now, I'm not going to be able to provide you with, an original cost for any of the 3 items you're talking about.
Because we never bought it. It was all either stuff we took from clients that they gave us or stuff that we built.
Right. So you have to get an
Okay.
estimate of what do you think? If I did, if I build a countertop.
I'll show you the pictures and I'll give you an estimate of what it costs.
Right. All right, we'll do that.
Yeah, it's kind of tough because I know it's old stuff, but
Yeah, no, I'm
Gotta
saying
be
it's all
tougher.
scrap. I mean, like any desk we got was a client said we need to get rid of this stuff. I said, all right, we'll take it and we used it. I mean, that was what it was. We didn't go out and buy office furniture. I can tell you that right now. The desk that I use in my office is a steel table with a piece of plywood on it.
Right.
That's what I have in my office. I mean, that's what I have in my office.
With
I-
the crappy
I-
with the crappy stool that you sit on.
Yeah, exactly. And I have chairs in
one
there for the
person's
client.
junk
gave
is
me.
another person's treasure.
Mhm.
Yeah. So-
Desperate makes you do, desperate, whatever.
No, you mean what you meant to say is somebody's junk is an assessor's treasure. But if I could just indulge you guys for a second, and this may not have anything to do with you, and I think the town is under no legal obligation to do anything, or even if there's a methodology, but you can see that the assessment here is somewhere around $230,000. Starting in 2013, where we didn't file, the assessed property was $370,000, and it looks like the assessor just increased it by 25% every year, to the point where in 2017 it was $800,000.
I'm gonna
To
tell you,
Lizzie's
I don't
credit,
think he's ever
to
filed.
Lizzie's credit, to
I don't
Lizzie's
think
credit.
he's ever filed. If I can
Yeah,
remember.
we never did.
No,
We never did.
I've
I
been
agree.
here 15 years and there was no filing for
Yeah,
Miracle
you
Farms.
never did. I'm finding this out now.
For 15 years, I thought. So whoever the new assessor was, or somebody came in new in 2018 and
Me,
dropped the assessment, did the right thing, saying we're overcharging these people, and dropped the assessment to $323,000.
what I did
which-
was I didn't drop it, I took it consistent, I reviewed a bunch of the values that nobody had
Yeah,
filed in
all
many
right.
years.
Well, I shouldn't say you did one that was more in line with reality.
So what I did was I looked at Hollandia, I looked at Blue Jays, I looked at the
Right.
different farms.
And
I
the
called
business-
other towns.
the
So those
business-
were those numbers changed. And it was
Yes.
only, I didn't have to.
No, I know you're proactive. I applaud you. I commend you. That was the right thing to do. And I'm just wondering if there's a way for the town to be able to do the right thing again for the years 17 through 13, because the assessments are almost double of what they should be. And here's a guy that's, trying to be a good citizen and be employ people in the Bethel area, provide a service to the community. And it's just not right. I mean, it's not that he did this knowingly.
No, I got frauded, and it's under legal action right now.
Yeah, the person is probably going to be indicted. I mean, so.
Yeah, it's hard. There's process. We email people. There's a declaration that goes out. We have done.
No,
Not faulting you. You're
Yeah,
not the only
I'm
one.
not blaming you. Absolutely not. I'm blaming Melissa.
yeah.
Or
We have issues with other government authorities who are showing us some leeway, recognizing, it's an extraordinary issue.
Right.
So is there something we could do to refile some of the past years or get them back in line?
Not that I know of. I don't know how the other assessors are doing it.
Is there anything we could do, with the town, go to the town manager, the town mayor, the town whoever, and just try to, try to get a wrong undone.
Right, but there was a process and it didn't get followed.
She duped them. She had a power of attorney. She never knew it was here. She's under criminal indictment. We get it. I get it that and you're not the only one. We got same issues with other taxing authorities.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to figure out a way so I'll say it again, to do the right thing, understanding there's probably no legal obligation, certainly on the assessor's part, to do anything, but trying to figure out a happy medium, and maybe somehow this board can consider that or give us some guidance.
And I don't know if it was wrong, because like he said, maybe 5 years ago, he had
Oh,
20.
it was wrong.
We haven't bought a new piece of
It
equipment.
was wrong.
We haven't bought a new piece of equipment since 2007 or 8.
I can tell you this,
Not one
the numbers
new
that,
piece of equipment.
the numbers that we have right now are more right than what you have in 2013.
The last things that we bought that were new were the mowers. That was the
Yeah.
last thing that we bought that was new.
And I think that was,
Single
and
piece of
those,
equipment, not
Right.
one thing, nothing. Since 2007.
actually, the mowers were 2014, Greg.
No, I'm saying since
Yeah.
the mowers.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
saying,
since
but
the
there
mowers.
was no
Yeah.
other equipment bought
Yep.
other than the mowers, which were done in 2014. But I'm saying after 2000 and the crash in 2007 and 8, we didn't buy any equipment, nothing.
Yeah,
And-
like,
And I can easily go back and take the depreciation schedules and retroactively go back to 2013 and compare what the town has and what was actually there.
yeah, I don't see where I have the right to do it, because the the due process was there.
Yeah. Not faulting that, not at all. We know it, we recognize it, and actually, again, I told you before, I'm not doing it because your board's there, but applaud you for being proactive and at least getting it back in line in 2018, instead of being just lazy and just increasing it by 25%. Funny part about it is when I did work for towns like that, knowingly, assessors knew that if somebody was overpaying, they said, no, don't go out and audit that guy. I know I'll have to give him a reduction. Now, that's not the right thing to do. And I'm not suggesting that was the case here in Bethel, but, there's, people like to say, I'm growing the grand list. And they find an easy way that could have seeped into the decision-making here.
No.
Okay. You're going to send us a revised or an inventory of your office
Well,
equipment and the
right.
vehicles?
Frankly, what we're
Tomorrow?
going to do is the vehicles, I think, are correct. What we're going to do, I think, after here is what I said to you is just going to plop down a number. Greg and I will skull after this meeting what we think what you're calling farm machinery would be, what the tooling would be, and what the computers would be. And I'm just going to take a lump number, so we're all clear right now, drop them into the prior year category of, let's say, 1,000, 5,000, whatever the category might be, and do the math and amend this, the schedule that way. I don't know what else to do. I mean,
Okay. All right.
there's no other documentation.
So, but Izzy and Greg were talking.
Yeah, I'm gonna
we're talking about.
with John in the morning, and then I will get it. I'll email it to Izzy. Absolutely.
Great. Okay.
No problem. Absolutely.
All right. And I'm with Izzy. I don't think that this board has any jurisdiction whatsoever over past years. But try to make things right as far as at this point going forward.
All
Do you
right.
know if there's who the appropriate person, if there is an appropriate person in town who we could talk to try to get it done? Is this something that the mayor would do, if or first selectman or your council, however you're governed?
I mean, I'll talk to my first selectman, but he hasn't, it's ultimately my decision. And what we're allowed to do. And I think that by not appealing, you waive that opportunity to change your assessment. So,
Okay.
Many years running.
No, we get it. I mean, listen, it's, you're not the only one. If one day, when this is all done, Greg and I can go have a beer with you guys and we don't have to social distance. If you hear the whole story, you'd be mortified. You wouldn't believe it happened. Turned this guy's life upside down.
Yeah, I'm actually selling my house, so hopefully it will sell tomorrow. I got someone coming to look at it, but I've had to sell my house and everything else. So I guess that's the story. I guess no rest for the wicked. All right.
Thank you,
Bruce,
guys.
let me see, Bruce and Gerard, did you have any questions?
No, go
I
ahead.
think if
Joe.
you can supply the revised declaration, then we can, look at it
Yep.
and consider, because, right now, we don't really have anything to consider, I
Yeah,
guess.
no, I get it.
You provide us with the
Yeah. Will do.
updated information. So if you provide us with that, we'll decide how we can handle it.
I gotta ask you, where, is that a mural, a picture, or a live view?
I
behind
don't
you?
know.
You could change the
Signed on
background.
to the meeting and I showed up in San Francisco.
No, you
I
could
don't,
change the background.
Yeah, I don't even know how I did it. All I hit was join meeting, and that's what showed up. So I'm sitting in
it's
my
pretty-
office, and if the picture was correct, you'd probably see the ceiling fan behind me. That's about it. So
It's
you're not
pretty-
missing anything exciting.
It's pretty impressive. I was jealous.
I don't know what I did.
Yeah.
All
All
right.
right.
fellas.
Okay, well, thank you both.
Thank you.
And,
Greg, I'll give you
Thank you
a
for taking the
call
time.
and we'll get on this
Thank you.
tonight, okay? I'll give you a call. Thank
Okay.
you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Good night.
you.
Thank you for your time.
Be well.
You too.
Okay.
Do we have anyone else?
So is
Duluth.
Joan join us?
Let me see if I can get her.
And Joan was supposed to be at 6.
Wait a minute, let me see. It's not working. I can't get her to work. I don't know why.
She's there.
I can see her, but I can't get her. Let me, no.
Looks like it's connecting to audio. Did not connect to audio.
I can see her, but I can't. I think she's trying.
So I see a phone number here on her petition. Maybe it's just as simple as her hitting unmute or something. Can you see if she's muted? In the corner?
It won't, it's just dots and it says chat, make host, co-host, allow, record, remove, rename.
And I think we probably all have different equipment we're using. When I go on, it asks me, do you want to, use the internet audio? And I always say yes.
Yes.
So maybe she missed that button or,
I could type her, let me just see. Maybe she should re-log on, maybe?
She could possibly try that if she exits the meeting and tries to rejoin the meeting.
and tell her when she's joining there is a spot where they ask, where you have to hit internet audio.
This is one that I don't have the paperwork for. Well, Izzy's trying to contact her. Can somebody give me the amount of the assessment and any penalty?
I don't have the field card with me, Gerard.
She's $36.40 for the assessment, and hers, the only thing, because they didn't come, the only thing that she had provided was the application that says, we do not run our company from our home, 26 Birch Drive, no meetings or work of business takes place at something here, at home. I can't get her. I can see her, but I can't see it. You know what I mean?
She also included here,
I have Bergster. I thought you were trying to get the new to you lady.
I haven't heard from her at all yet.
Oh, okay.
So the only one we have is DLP, and she's
Okay,
trying.
I have their paperwork.
Okay.
Is there any way you could call her on the phone
I possibly can. I have her
And-
phone number.
and say, oh, she did provide a phone number here, didn't she?
Yeah,
so
let
this
me
is
see.
Sonia.
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 Let me see if I can. Oh, she's gone. Let's see what happens.
You can read that phone number. The last four digits are either 4440, 4990, 4490, 9990.
All right, let's check.
I was looking at that. I'm thinking to myself, is that my poor lighting here or what?
No,
Is there
they're,
another?
they're nines or fours in a row.
And on the back page, there's no phone number either.
Didn't get back on.
Is there any way to contact them?
Well, I could use my phone, but I hate to call with my own cell phone.
I can call on my landline. I'll try.
All right.
Sonia Diaz, yes?
Yes.
Do you think it's 9990?
I have another number that we have. Do you want that one?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's 203-648-2669. See if that works.
So the assessment they're looking at is 2910, correct? Not 3640. The 3640 is
Just
with the
with
penalty,
penalty.
correct? So so the correct numbers are
Hi,
2910
trying to
for the
reach,
assessment with a
Sonia.
penalty of 730, correct?
Correct.
This is
Okay.
Gary Passano. I'm the chairman of the Board of Assessment Appeals. And we're trying to set up a Zoom meeting. And we could see that she was there, but we couldn't hear anything. And then, okay, so have you done Zoom meetings previously? Well, when you first go in, you were successful in making the connection to the Zoom network, but there's, in my experience, and I think it's different all around, but in the very beginning, there's a prompt or a little box there that says, do you want to use internet audio?
You have to say
And
yes.
I always hit yes, and that allows you to be heard. So apparently we had video contact, but we couldn't hear anything.
Does she have, she might have to use her earphones. Depending
Okay,
on,
so Izzy's, there's several of us on the call here. She's saying she might have to use her earphones if she has earphones. We'll figure it out.
yeah, my desktop at work, I don't have a camera, so I have to either call in or use earphones.
They're looking for Izzy, they're looking for headphones.
Okay.
Are we're the only ones on the call right now, correct?
Yes.
So just so I have my numbers correct from the last one, you're claiming that the assessment should be 271,450?
That was what it was without the penalty, plus
Right.
71,000 for
Is
the penalty.
71,000, correct? Okay, I
Okay.
just want to have my numbers right for the notes.
But I think they have to give us those other, I feel bad for them. but they have to give us those other, even if
Sure.
they're not a lot.
They're definitely trying to do the right thing, but you know, you need the numbers to come up with a correct number. I definitely think the guy got duped, so he's trying to do the right thing.
Right.
And I guess you just want me to email them to you normally, and I don't know how this is gonna work.
Yeah, just because I'm going
We're all at
anyways.
home. The tax assessor is at the office. So she's the host of the meeting. So she'll be able to see when you reconnect, and we'll have to wait for her to confirm. But she didn't want to call from her phone and possibly lose the Zoom connection. So that's why I called from my home. They're logging in again now. There was a number,
You need that number? They have to put in 736. Want the number, Gary?
I'm writing, so Izzy, go ahead.
All right, 736-090-2790.
Okay, so that's the number that's like a number that is specific to this meeting. So you have to connect to Zoom first, and then they'll ask you for that number so that you connect to the meeting.
We're the only ones on here still, Izzy?
Yep.
So they're claiming they do no business, but they're registered with the Secretary of State at their home address.
Yeah, and they didn't, and I had asked them if they filed it, if they leave the equipment in another town, did they file? And they said, no, they did not file in another town, so.
Gotcha.
Has anyone driven by the house to see at all?
No. Oh, look it, I got you.
Okay.
Okay, I think Izzy sees that you're online.
Can you see?
I got it.
There we go.
All right.
And we can hear you, so I'm gonna hang up.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Hey, there you are. Okay, bye. Hi.
We have to. Go ahead.
So we overcame a little difficulty here.
We do have to swear her in.
Yep. So, Sonia,
Yeah.
my name's Gary. I'm the chairman of the Board of Assessment Appeals. Also joining us is Bruce Cornwell. Bruce is vice
Right
chairman. There's Bruce.
Hi,
And
Bruce.
also Gerard Amond, who's the secretary.
Okay, good.
And
Hello.
Gerard has to swear you in because that's the rules.
Okay.
Swear him in because I've got the writing.
Yeah, Izzy's gonna swear you in. I didn't have my sheet with me.
Okay. And then do you know Izzy?
I know Izzy.
Okay, so she's the other one who's here on the call with us.
So I'm going to swear you in, so I'm going to read it to you. So it says, "Do you solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?"
Swear.
Swear.
All right. So Sonia, we have a copy of your petition, and also attached to that is the personal property assessment notice. And I'm not even sure what this last page is, but it's pertaining to the address where you do or don't run a business. Dela's Masonry LLC. So you're claiming that your value is 3640 of the assessed value is 3640 of property you have there, but you also have written, we do not run our company from our home, and we have no meetings or work of, is it work? Or much of business takes place.
At the home of 26 Birch Drive.
Now, let me explain it to you.
Okay,
The Loose Masonry Landscaping, it was closed. on
Can I interrupt for 1
2016.
second? Can anyone hear me? This is Joel Jollis. I'm actually attorney for DLP Landscaping Design, as well as Ms. DeLuce. So I want to first introduce myself, and obviously you have questions to ask, but let me just give you a brief history of these companies, because apparently there are would appear to be three separate entities. It starts with DeLuce Masonry LLC, which is Sonia's husband's limited liability company. And he did home improvements, specifically masonry work. And his sons, Philip and David, were not part of that LLC. They had their own thing going. They had school, they had sports. It came a time around 2014 that he was unable to continue running the company, and that had a lot to do with health issues. And his two sons at that same time period were more into landscaping and design than they were masonry, and were trying to do their own thing. And this is around 2014, 2015. And they briefly had DeLuce Masonry and Landscaping, which was Philip and David. And when their father got sick, they then transferred the membership of the LLC to themselves to try to operate the father's LLC, DeLuce Masonry LLC. This is when I came into the picture, because at that point in time, when they took over the LLC was inundated with debt, specifically and involved in litigation. They had recently then been served for past due workers' comp premiums by an attorney in New Haven. At my recommendation, the boys wanted to do landscaping. I said, you don't take over dad's business and saddled with debt. You should form your own company and do your own thing and keep them separate. DeLuce Masonry LLC at that point was in litigation in 15, 16, and we kept the company active with Secretary of State, but it was doing no business and had no assets. At that point, we also incorporated, I believe in 2016, DLP Landscaping Design LLC. That is David and Philip only as the sole members of that LLC. That is the only LLC that's in existence today. Now, once all the litigation was ensued and debt collection stopped for the old DeLuce Masonry LLC, that was eventually dissolved, not by my office. I think they had some third-party internet company or someone filed the dissolution. I believe that was in 2018. So in speaking to Ms. DeLuce earlier, and I'll let her get on to the valuation aspect. I hadn't discussed that with her if she's appealing that. But part of her appeal is the first I've ever heard. And that is, there are a series of bills for personal property tax that were sent to their address, but it was made out for DeLuce Masonry and Landscaping. And I believe she tried to say that she didn't know who they were and it wasn't in existence, because she really didn't know. And I believe the tax assessor located a Facebook page that showed it. And I see a picture of the Bethel Municipal Zet to tax collector. I don't know. If you saw that, if you go on the Facebook page even now and look at the last post on that Facebook page, I guarantee you it's going to be 2014 and maybe early months of 2015. That was the only time period. So that Facebook page was never taken down, but that has been inactive since 2014. So to the extent that there were being bills that were being sent for DLP for the time period they were being sent, I'm sorry, for
Masonry.
Deleuze Masonry Landscaping, their big appeal really for that, which I thought was surprising, was, hey, we're not saying there's not taxes owed. What we're saying is you're billing the wrong entity, that you're billing something that does not exist. And so what she was asking, and she's asked repeatedly at town hall, is simply Deleuze Masonry and Landscaping should not be Deleuze Masonry and Landscaping. Those bills should be going to DLP Landscaping Design LLC. And to that extent, they'll be paid. Now, she has a question with regard to the finance charges because the billing, and she has been contesting it since the first bill down at town hall, and that is you have the wrong name. And what's interesting is if you look at your tax records, you will find you'll find motor vehicles for DLP. So the town's aware that they exist, but for whatever reason, personal property tax bills were not going to DLP. Does that make sense to anybody other than Ms. Deleuze?
No, the problem was, of course, since 2015, nobody had filled out the declaration. We tried the best we can to find the names. What are the names? Is
Right.
it DLP? Is it Deleuze Masonry? You know, we do the best we can. So sometimes we'll attach the different names because we're not sure what they are. Nothing was filled out. And that's the problem. We send them out, and if you don't fill them out, I'm not sure exactly what the name is. Maybe it
How
was.
could you bill
Deleuze
things not
Masonry,
knowing the
now it's-
names?
And that's where the problem arose, was there was no declaration filled out 15, 16, 17.
No, I get that. And I did play devil's advocate with my client. And I said, well, it doesn't make sense, but it is what it is. And that is she's getting bills to an entity, which at the time, she didn't even know that Philip and David had Facebook pages and were operating as landscapers because she thought they were trying to make Deleuze Masonry have a go at it. And they were more into the landscaping aspect of it. And so she's getting bills. And rather than saying, I'm going to fill out the declaration, she was going to town hall saying, there is no Deleuze Masonry, it's DLP. And according to what she told me today, and she's under oath, you can ask her, when she went to town hall, they looked up records and said, we have no record of DLP landscaping. Which makes no sense because there's motor vehicle taxes that are properly being taxed to DLP. So for whatever reason, motor vehicle got it right for the motor vehicle assessment portion, but the property tax was wrong and it was complicated, agreed by Ms. Deleuze simply taking it as saying, I've never heard of it, and ignoring that fact, other than going to town hall and saying, hey, this really should be DLP. So I don't think, if you look at, she sent me a series of bills. Those bills that actually say Deleuze Masonry and Landscaping, I don't think we're contesting the personal property tax charges. I don't think we're talking thousands of dollars, we're talking hundreds of dollars. To that extent, they're willing to pay that. They want the bills to show DLP, obviously for tax reporting purposes, because DLP files a return, even though it's a pass-through as an LLC, but the names have to be right. And then it's a question of whether under the circumstances, the assessor and the appeal board would deem it that the finance charges could be waived if they make payment of those bills. And that's with respect to the DLP landscaping and masonry bills.
Right.
Does that make sense?
We had formerly known as Deleuze Construction, we had Deleuze Stonework, we've had Deleuze and Masonry.
That's all their assumptions.
But where did you get all these names?
Those are all your assumptions.
Well, we try the best we can. So there's websites. We find properties a lot of ways. We find them in the motor vehicle list. We find them on
Way, then you find DLP.
David.
Concord. We find them by, most times I'll see the trucks going by.
Well, my
So-
biggest way of
Oh.
So
finding
the trucks,
social media.
the trucks are old. You see, 1993, the trucks, they took over when Louis couldn't work anymore. And we didn't sell the trucks, we kept the trucks. And you see on the motor vehicle bills that we pay for the trucks. But those are old trucks. And if they have the name on, they didn't take the name off. But I don't think this should be a issue. You know, that they kept the old trucks because they couldn't afford to buy new ones.
Well, I don't think, I mean, it doesn't matter how many names they're being, as DBAs. If there's other names, they can simply file trade name certificates. But the main thing is that really only 2 legal entities established by the state and 2 taxable entities, and 2 entities that actually filed tax returns under those entities. And that was Deleuze Masonry LLC, which for all practical purposes ceased operating in 2014, formally dissolved 2018. And there is DLP Landscaping Design LLC, which was formed in 2016 and has been continuing to operate to this day. And those are the 2 names. So I get what you're saying. Is it Elizabeth
Yes.
Hertz? Okay, Miss Hertz. I get what you're saying because I do a lot of commercial collection, and I try to tell my clients 90% of my investigation is social media. And I've explained that it's almost impossible to prove a non-existence of something as opposed to the existence. I said they have a Facebook page. You can't prove the non-existence of something that doesn't exist. I've tried. And so when I have something like this and I'm suing somebody, just with the information you have in front of you, I would normally look at the individuals and say they're sole proprietors, that it's David and Philip doing business as Deleuze Masonry Landscaping. Except at that point in time, all the income coming in actually was going into DLP. So it really is, if anything, DLP, DBA with no trade name certificate. But those bills that are Deleuze, I mean, you can change them. They're paid. They will be paid. Those should be going to DLP Landscape Design LLC. Now the Deleuze Masonry LLC, that's a different story, because that's basically a non-existent entity since 2018 with no income producing anything since 2014. And I don't know when the last tax return was filed, but that would have been filed as a marked off as final return.
Correct, in 2014.
14?
December 31st, 2015. So the
Okay.
last tax was 2014.
Okay, and that was for Deleuze Masonry LLC,
Mhm,
and then it filed its final reporting return
correct.
as final for tax year ending December 31st, 2014. That would be the 2014 return was the last return filed.
Right, because he's on, Deleuze Masonry and Sons is on for 15, 16, 17, and now 18 is, well,
Deleuze Masonry and Sons doesn't exist.
yeah, Deleuze and Masonry and Landscapes is 18. So it's really been a matter of trying to, well, that's a motor vehicle, no, that's personal property. So it's really a matter of trying to get, you have to understand, in the state of Connecticut, I don't have to send them to my local businesses. Really, it's their obligation to fill out the personal property declaration. We do due diligence and we try to find the right names, get the right businesses. That being said, they were not filled out. So nobody filled it, not Deleuze Sons, not Philip, not David. And that was really their responsibility as the state of Connecticut to fill out a personal property declaration.
Business at that time.
Well, I know, and I think it also says that even if you don't get a bill, you're still legally liable to pay your taxes. It might even be a sign posted in the town hall, still to this day. But from a purely collection standpoint, for them to pay what's due and for the town to be able to collect what it can collect, with Deleuze Masonry LLC, you're going to find a non-existent dissolved LLC with no assets. So from a tax roll, that's a difficult collection that we would defend, appeal or no appeal. With regard to the Deleuze Masonry and Landscaping, which there are several bills there, those is simply having the bills say DLP Landscaping Design LLC, and they're paid. And then what we would request, though, under all these circumstances and finally getting this all worked out after I don't know how many years, that there be a waiver of the finance charges, which I don't think amount to a lot of money.
But I don't have that right to take off the finance charges legally.
Okay.
Who does?
But I believe that if we were at an appellate review and she's questioning or contesting the value of assets, if there was a way to reduce that was somewhat a few $100s less, that would take care of the finance charges that they're paying on the bills and straighten out the DLP. And that's totally discretionary.
But I couldn't go back to, you're asking for 15, 16, 17, 18. Those times for the appeal, those have already passed.
Well, the Deleuze, of the 15, 16, 17, 18 are Deleuze Masonry LLC, then no one's offering to pay those. You're gonna have to do your best to collect them because it's a non-existent LLC with no assets. And unless there's case law, I don't see personal liability. To the extent that there were assets, there were vehicles that were sold for hundreds of dollars, not thousands. They were old vehicles over 10, 12 years old when sold. And they were sold years ago.
But I can
to the
change
extent
the
that there's a-
name, but that wouldn't change the fact that they didn't fill out the personal property declarations and would have an assessment with a penalty.
I don't disagree. But if it's not removed from tax rolls as a non-collectible dissolved company, which is, you don't have to do that, what's going to happen is for the rest of time, you're going to generate that bill and it'll have finance charges. I don't know how many years and how many trees later, but they won't be paid because there's nothing to pay them from Duluth Masonry LLC.
Right, but we'll be changing it to the DLP Landscaping Design LLC.
If you send out the Duluth Masonry LLC bills to DLP, then we'll have a different kind of appeal in our hands. To go ahead and do that, if that's procedurally the way to do it. But they're not the same company, and there was no transfer of assets between the two companies, and there's no evidence that even says they were. So that's a different story. I think that might be something that has to go to legal counsel for the town to determine whether or not that's a lawsuit he wants to file or a tax he wants to file. I don't see how you're going to get from Duluth Masonry to DLP, but you definitely have DLP assuming responsibility, admittedly, for Duluth Landscaping and Design, or Duluth Masonry and Landscaping is DLP.
All right, who owned Duluth Masonry and Landscaping? Who were the proprietors of that?
Two members,
Okay.
Philip and David Duluth.
So Philip and David is still DLP, an owner of DLP Landscaping.
Yeah.
Correct. And that's actually
Yeah,
still
they-
current
they've
with,
gotten
and the
the-
most current filing with Secretary of State reflects that.
And they've gotten the income and, not the income and expense, the personal property declarations every year. They are local businesses and they did not fill them out every year.
To the extent there's tax bills addressed to DLP that are not paid, they're paying those. I didn't see too many of those. I saw a couple that Sonia said they were paying them. If there are unpaid tax bills since 2016 for DLP, Landscaping and Design LLC, they're liable for those. And they can't appeal the value of those or the asset amounts if they did not properly file their declarations back when they did, and that's history. So if there's tax bills owed for that entity for those years, those are owed. Those have to be paid. And certainly there's no reason to ask, even if you could waive finance charges, to waive it on those bills because they were properly billed, the right address, the right entity, the right assets. And moving forward, what they're going to have to do is when they receive next year's declaration, fill it out and file it timely, and they won't have this situation.
So what are they doing with this declaration? The one that they didn't fill out this year?
I wasn't aware of it, but the time period's gone.
That's why they're appealing.
I sent it to you, the declaration. It was filled on the,
No, I don't have a
I don't have proper
declaration
billing
filled out
for
this
any-
year.
Just talking to me, Sonia, if you're contesting the value of the most,
She
yeah,
appealed the 2019 assessment.
right. If you're contesting the value of the 2019 assessment for DLP, it's too late. And
No.
whatever the town assessed it at, that's going to be the bill, and you got to pay it. And next year you'll get another declaration, and you fill it out. But your appeal time period, and if this is the appeal, if you didn't file your declaration, you don't have too much to appeal with regard to that. But, and I don't have that in front of me, but isn't that like $110 or something like that? I think they're paying me
don't
more
know
than
the
that to be
telephone.
here.
It's the assessment is
I think it was just over $3,000 for personal property.
$36.40.
3640 with the penalty.
Oh, it's $3,640?
Correct.
Assessment,
Okay, and that's just for 2019?
correct,
Personal property?
correct.
What does that consist of?
What did they file?
Nothing.
What do they have? What kind of landscaping equipment?
No, I get that. Obviously, it's not filed, so you don't know.
Correct.
So I'm assuming that you're looking at some line item that says this is what it has to be. I'm just wondering how they get the 3460. Why didn't the town say it's 1,500, or why didn't the town say it's 10,000? I'm just wondering where the 3460 comes from.
3640, and it's based on what kind of equipment? Do you have landscaping? Do you have lawnmowers, weed whackers?
No, I get that, but you don't know the equipment. So even though they can't contest the assessment, there still has to be a reasonable basis for the assessment.
They are contesting the assessment, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, no, you were saying they can't contest because they had not filed a declaration.
No,
What
I
I'm
didn't
saying
say
is, even if they didn't file the declaration, they always have the right to contest the reasonableness of where your basis is. Now, if you're saying it's based on, statistics of the average 27 landscapers in Bethel, and this is the average of their property, then that is totally reasonable. But if it's just an arbitrary, well, they might have 4 lawnmowers and a tractor, and this is the value, even though, you don't know age, you don't know anything about it.
So what are you tell your clients? Wouldn't you tell them that they should fill out a personal property declaration?
They should. I
Okay,
absolutely think they should. They didn't come to me when they got it and said, what is this? But I'm saying, I can't rewrite what they didn't do already. And they understand what they have to do now. And obviously they didn't have a full grasp, because personally, look, if I got a bill that said Deleuze Masonry and Landscaping, and it wasn't my company, and I'm thinking, well, this is wrong, I would have jumped all over that a lot sooner, but I'm also an attorney. So, I can't speak for what they did not do already. I can only say that
I went many times, and my husband talked to Liz many times about that.
No, but
But
Sonia,
you
the
said,
question,
"No, I don't
the question isn't questioning the entity. The question is, when you got a form in the mail, and you get it every year, and it says personal property declaration, and it
Correct.
makes you, and it wants you to list the property of the business when you got it, the value of the business,
The
and then you
name
file
of
it
the
by a certain
business.
date.
Correct, but all the time this declaration comes into the loose good masonry and landscaping.
No, we're
I
talking
don't
about
have that,
DLP.
so I ignore.
It doesn't matter. Anyway, when she got that declaration at 26 Birch Drive, it was up to her to say, no, Deleuze Masonry is closed, but my husband is operating DLP Landscaping. That was
Oh,
never
wait,
done.
back up. I misunderstood that.
I-
Wait,
you see-
oh, Sonia,
You see,
Sonia,
that's the misunderstanding is
hang
that.
on. I misunderstood what you said. Deleuze Masonry never operated DLP. They were never the same. And DLP has not taken legal responsibility for anything owed by Deleuze Masonry.
Correct.
If the declaration you're referring to is Deleuze Masonry, we don't care.
That's what I'm saying.
Deleuze Masonry will never file a declaration ever. They don't exist. They didn't exist. They're dissolved in 2018. Whatever taxes are owed by them are not going to get collected.
All right, so then I'll adjust the last 3 years to DLP Landscaping Designs. And
That's
they'll have to
fine.
pay
And
that.
then, that's fine. And that will then, if you adjust the last 3 years for, you're saying landscaping design to DLP? Absolutely.
But they didn't file. So they had a right to file.
Correct. Did you already bill, wait, but you didn't bill them $3,000. Are you going to bill them
Because they didn't tell us our
$3,000
name
now?
when they came in every year. Did they tell us that they had changed their name?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes, and to you, Liz, my
Your
husband went
face
back.
multiple times.
Not
Yeah,
until
my husband went back
2019.
and talked to you.
No, not till
I
2019.
did, I did as well, 3 times.
Yeah.
You're a liar.
Come
You're
on.
not under oath.
That's okay. You can say what you want. I don't care.
Well, they're under oath.
You're under oath, remember?
I went 3 times.
I think they're the only people in this hearing that are under oath.
What do you mean?
I just mean that someone's accusing someone of lying. I'm saying they're under oath. And they're
Okay.
testifying under oath.
So what are
Now,
they going to do?
their credibility can be
I
determined.
think
Well,
there's
hearing
a
officer.
misunderstanding there. There's a
With the
misunderstanding.
DLP Landscaping, what are they going to do with their filing?
Okay,
Extra
if the
roof.
tax bills right now are changed from Deleuze,
Masonry.
landscape, was it
Masonry,
Deleuze Design and
landscaping.
Masonry Landscaping to DLP, they're gonna pay those. Now, is there a tax bill now, you said, for DLP? That's $3,000?
It's not out yet.
Okay,
It's not a tax bill for $3,000. I'm working with assessments.
okay, I misunderstood you. So correct me if I'm wrong, just so we don't waste everyone's time and money. A $3,000 assessment is gonna equate to about a $110 bill? If that's the case, they'll pay it.
I don't know what this year's mill rate be. It'd be
Okay,
about 130.
Okay, but we're talking hundreds. We're not talking 3,000. Okay. So Sonia, they're not saying you have to pay $3,000. They're saying the value of the assets of DLP, personal property, not vehicles, is $3,000. Now they're going to multiply that by the town mill rate for personal property, for business.
Mhm.
And it's going to end up being 100 and something, maybe less than $200.
But they didn't fill out their personal property declaration, and they should have.
No, absolutely right.
Right here, Liz, and I sent it to you.
No, that's not the same thing. And we're talking about DLP, not Duluth. I
That's
think what you're showing me,
DLP.
if I have copies of what you're showing me, you're holding up. Isn't that the one for Duluth Masonry that I think David signed off on saying that they don't exist anymore?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, that's not what we're talking about. What she's talking about is a multi-page document. Looks like an accounting spreadsheet.
Uh-huh.
And it wants you to list your personal property, typewriter, computer, tools,
Oh, all right, okay.
and then you put the value on it, and you file that every year. Usually you get it like in November. It's filed before February or something like that.
Goes from
My dates
September
are
to
wrong. I don't-
November 1st.
Okay. And it's based on your personal declaration under oath what the town values your property at. If you don't file that, the town will automatically put a value to your property without even knowing what your property is. It's not fair, but if you don't file it yourself,
Below.
they have no choice. It's just the way it is. And so for 2019, last year, you did not file the form, and the property is valued at $3,000 and some odd dollars. They're going to get a tax bill. Has not come out yet. It'll come out soon, and they're going to be a couple $100 they're going to owe. That will have to be paid. And then next year we fill the form out. Now, if you have $10,000 in property, don't fill that form out at all, apparently. I'm kidding when I say that. No, fill that out every year when you get it and file it, and you won't have this problem. And then if you have a problem with the value, that's your problem because you're the one that would have valued it.
Okay.
Right?
Got it.
So where do we go from here?
Where do we go from here? The best bet, and what I could do, is I would have to have them give their numbers for, if we're gonna get rid of Deleuze and Sons Masonry, we have the 3 years,
Right.
then we need them to file the last 3 years, because then I can remove it from Deleuze Masonry, add DLP, but with the correct numbers. That's the other option. Or they pay, I'm not sure if the assessment is low or high. I mean, I'm gonna tell you, they didn't file.
Right.
So right now, you have Deleuze and-
Right now, how much is for the 3 years?
I don't have the, let me give you, I'm trying to look at the tax side here.
Are you looking at Duluth Masonry or
I'm looking
Duluth?
at Deleuze Masonry, because otherwise, I'm gonna add
They're not
DLP.
going to pay that.
Huh?
They're not paying. They're not going to pay Duluth Masonry LLC.
Right, but I'm gonna add DLP, because DLP should have been on the name.
Okay. Well, no. Go ahead and add that. They're not going to pay it because
DLP?
DLP. You just can't make it a successor corporation when it's not.
No, that's not what I'm saying to you, if you didn't jump the gun there.
Okay. I apologize. I misunderstood. It sounds like the DLP is about to be get a bill for Duluth Masonry change to DLP.
No, what I'm
Okay.
going to do is I'll delete Deleuze Masonry for the last 3 years, because I can legally do that.
Okay.
But I have to add DLP.
Got it.
So there's gonna be no interest, but they're gonna get added, and they have 30 days to pay it before the interest accrues.
Okay.
But they have to file their declaration, because I need the numbers.
I got it. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sonia.
I got
For those 3 years that DLP was not, or that Duluth
4 years,
Masonry was
but
not
you want-
operating,
We want 19, 18, 17, 16.
right?
So 19? 19? Okay.
No, 19, you have to eat.
Okay,
She's doing us a favor.
okay,
For those years, she's gonna take away Duluth Masonry off the bills, okay, and wipe those out. But DLP was operating 16, 17, 18.
correct.
She's not gonna arbitrarily pick a number. She's gonna let you late file your declaration. So we have to list the property of DLP for 16, 17, 18.
Correct.
She gets those numbers. She's going to then determine that value based on those values you're providing with the assets, multiply times the mill rate, and then send a bill to DLP. It's going to be a bill for back taxes for 16, 17, 18, which they didn't pay because they never got a tax bill. Now they're going to get one.
Right.
And then I forgot, I did not hear what you said about the finance. There will be finance
Well,
charges
at
or
the
not?
15, what we have to do is, Philip was still, what happened in 15? What was going on in 15?
In 15, Deleuze Masonry LLC was not operating, and they were operating prior to incorporation. What they originally were going to incorporate, they were originally going to incorporate Deleuze Masonry and landscape design. Could not. Name. Concord kicked it out. There's other Deleuze landscapings out there in the state of Connecticut.
Okay.
So they ended up with DLP incorporated in 2016. So for that time period, really nothing was going on except they were trying to start their business and wind down dads and figure out what they're going to do with the litigation. In 2016, they incorporated and went full bore 100% in DLP.
Okay.
So they would have 16, 17, 18 not taxed for DLP.
Correct, but it should be. So we're gonna
Absolutely.
take care of masonry, delete masonry, Deleuze Masonry, and there's a few different names. And then we're going to put DLP, but they have to get those returns to me.
Yes. And then on the DLP, on the Deleuze landscaping and design, change those to DLP and those get paid.
Correct.
And then obviously you said you couldn't do anything with the finance charges, but I think they're
Well,
like
there
$10,
won't be, because if
$13.
I'm gonna delete Deleuze Masonry, but I'm going to add DLP. They'll get the 25% penalty because they didn't file. That I can't do anything about. But they won't have the interest because they'll have 30 days to pay it.
Right. As a 20%.
That takes that interest down.
And just so Sonia, when you start hearing these penalties, okay, numbers we're talking about. Figure if $3,000 of assets is less than $200 of a tax bill, and you get hit for a 25% penalty, you're talking $50. We're not talking. You're not gonna get a bill for $10,000. You know, you're not talking thousands of dollars here. Now, when we're all said and done for all the years, you could be talking close to $1,000 for everything. Yes. But don't want you to freak out over these 25% numbers because they're not huge numbers we're talking.
And the 3640, people panic because they think that's 3,640. That's not tax dollars. We work with assessments.
Right.
And by law, I legally have to tell you what your assessment is. We don't get the mill rate until May when the budget passes. And hence then the tax bills go out in July, and that's assessment times mill rate tax dollars.
I got it. All right.
So what I'm going to do is tomorrow, I'm going to email you a copy of the 16, 17, and 18 blank declarations. And you're going to have to put the numbers in.
Okay. And I send it back to you as soon as I get it.
Correct.
Or I take it back with you and then you do the calculations right then at the town and we can pay this.
You have
and
to call me. The doors are locked. So we are, because of COVID, our doors are not open to the public. So the best is to,
send it back.
is to call me. And then I can, tell me when you can set up a time. I can meet you. We can get in there. But it's,
Or I can send it back to you filled out and then you can,
we'll give you an answer right away.
you send me the bill and I Venmo you or whatever.
Well, the old ones, you'll have 30 days. So you probably want to do it through a business check, I would assume, so you have record of it. So you would do, you have 30 days to get the check in the mail to the tax collector, once I add it. So it's not, you don't owe it yet until I add it.
We want to pay it.
Yeah, we pay. Yeah, we want to pay right away.
And then every year, September, that declaration comes out. And again, if you change,
Under DLP, because
No,
you see,
but they're saying if you want to change it to DLP design, and I'm going to get rid of landscape, that's okay, but you have to let us know. Because we try
correct,
the
but
best we can to keep the
that's
name right.
but yeah, I hope you understand what happened here. It was a misunderstood. When I see,
His father.
no, it's not. When I see Deleuze landscape and design, I go like, shoot, I don't have this anymore. So I just you know who I am. You
Yeah.
know how I am. I always answer your question.
Yes.
But because came in a different name, for me, it's like it doesn't work anymore. And because all the trucks were coming under DLP landscape and design, I assumed you
Yeah.
guys knew. So it was a miscommunication.
That's okay. And I always said, people just, a lot of times I always tell people, if you ever get anything from the town, never throw it out. Always question it. Okay, I think we're good. So I'm going to put a note. I got to make sure. You want
Can I
this?
ask one question?
Yep.
Is the attorney still on?
I am.
Uh,
I
Just,
just turned
I'm
the light in the back off.
That's gonna cost me the other
now-
$1,000.
I believe, just for my records, because I'm the secretary, your first name was Joel?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Joel, Joel.
Yep.
Last name is Jolles, Jolles.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, if you want, you want additional information, phone number,
Nope,
contact.
that's all I
Okay.
need, just for my notes. I'll just put that
Alright.
you were representing them, that's
Yeah.
all.
And in fact, I think if you go on to Concord, you'll even see me. I think I'm still agent for service for DLP.
Yes.
Okay,
I'm certainly
Okay,
on the
Sonia,
articles of
I'm glad-
organization.
I'm glad with
If you need the recommendations, he's the best lawyer ever.
Thank you.
I'm glad with the COVID that we were able to hook this up and get this through the Zoom and get this set up.
This is the future.
I
This is
don't
this is
like
the
it.
future. Get used to it.
Ask him how Joe's like in Venmo.
How could we release one?
All
here
right,
to the
guys,
TV?
thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you all.
Joe,
Thank you
were
for
the
being
best.
patient.
All right, thank you.
Thank
thank
you.
you for your time.
All right.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye, Lise, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so Gary will wait on the other two because we have those two. We have to get information in, and I'll set up another meeting just so that we can get those all numbers done.
Okay, and Joan Simpson,
She
new
never,
to you?
so I
No
think she
show
was
again?
just worried about the tax bill. So I'm having a feeling that she just figured it was worth it to pay the bill and be done with it.
Okay. So after you get the information from these two parties, do we need to schedule another Zoom meeting to finalize?
I think we should
Yeah,
Yeah, because guess we're gonna have to accept
for
whatever
deliberations.
it is, yeah.
right.
So I will set up, once I get those tomorrow, I'll get the numbers punched in, and then we'll set up one more Zoom meeting. And get it,
Hopefully,
and then we'll get it all done.
hopefully. And Gerard, where will you be for that meeting?
Lord only knows. I had no idea I was coming to you from San Francisco today, so
Ready for tomorrow.
maybe Timbuktu. I don't know. I guess it'll be a surprise to everybody.
Okay.
Okay, so I've got 7:35. A motion to adjourn, please.
I
Please.
will make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. I'll
Second.
second it. In favor? Aye. All right. God, that was fun.
Yay.
Good
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
night.
Thanks,
Have a good
Izzy.
night.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Have a nice night.
I gotta
You too.
figure out how to end meeting. Okay, I'm ending.
End it.